That's right. Hoodoo TV's live, and we got Ryan Winn, baby. What's happening?
Woo! It's so good to be back. Thank you for having me. This is my first home for ever live streaming. This is the first channel I was ever a guest on. This is the first channel I ever was sideways on during a live stream.
Oh, I remember
because I didn't realize my camera had turned, and so it's good to be here, man. It feels like coming home again.
Oh man, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. You know, always enjoy talking with you, whether it's offline, online, whatever. I think and that's one thing that I want viewers to know, that you get authentic. It doesn't really change with you online or offline. And that's it's really cool and genuine to hear that when you have somebody like that. So happy to have you on.
Right back at you, brother. I'd like to surround myself with people that I feel have that same energy and stuff. So, you've always been such a great positive light for me. And I don't know, it's an honor to be here.
Positive people, man. It's all it's about. So, but a lot's been up. I think Gods and Gears was just getting started the last time we really had you on. And a lot's, that's Gods and Gears. For those that may not have seen it, get all 4 of them right now. But better yet, one thing we're here to talk about is another thing, Hammerella. So, but what's been going on with Ryan Winn the last year or so?
Well, it's been interesting times. I've stepped away from being an inker and kind of stepped into doing more of the stuff I kind of always wanted to do, like create, write, draw a little bit, like basically doing all the things. That's kind of always what I wanted to do, is work on enough independent projects where I could write a little, color a little, whether it's all on my own or with other people on their projects. So yeah, it's been really fun and interesting, especially this last year, just like finding all this like new territory to cover and new ground to work on and stuff like that. So having Gods and Gears come out with my artist Dean Kotz was kind of one of the dreams of our lives. He and I have wanted to work together for over a decade. We met on DeviantArt, which I don't know if you ever had a DeviantArt page way back in the day.
I did. I had some of more of my paintings when I was painting.
Okay, I would have guessed that, but I know we didn't connect back then. We didn't connect till the Valiant days. But Dean and I wanted to work together for 10 years. We finally got the chance with Gods and Gears, and then it was super cool that right when we were going to be putting that out is when Alterna decided, hey, we want to start doing affordable newsprint comics. And Dean and I were like, that is a dream come true. We have to submit there. And so we did. And I always like to point this out to people. We did not get accepted right away. It took a little work, and it took a little time. And I always want to point that out because I know so many young creatives, they get a rejection letter, they give up. And man. I always stress, even if that's not the point of the conversation, I just always want to stress, don't let that rejection letter be a rejection.
Right. I mean, so what did you learn from that rejection? I think is really what I think is going around, right? Is learning from the critiquing, from the criticism. What did you learn from that?
Yeah, we learned that we needed to be very concise with our pitch, and that your pitch and the artwork you show have to coincide, because we had a thing where like, the beginning of Gods and Gears takes place in one spot in the world and time, but the next 3.5 issues take place in another place. So we had the first few pages to show, but then we explained this thing about magic in the jungle. Meanwhile, the pages we were showing were about car racing in a city and stuff like that. And they didn't connect, Right. So it was that thing of like, just because in my head it all makes sense. It was, you got to step outside your own shoes, your own mind, and think about, what does the person who has no clue about any of this, how are they going to take this in? And when you start to do that, you can start to be like, I didn't explain this right. I didn't explain this right, because you know it,
right?
But they don't know all the inner workings. So sometimes as the creator, you understand the things that you've said or put together for your pitch, but somebody else, it might not work with the art or whatever. And for us, that was a big thing, was how do you explain your story? So I recommend to people now, call people, friends and relatives that aren't into comics, but they know
Right.
you're creative, and try to pitch the story to them, and not to sell the story to them, but just say, does this make sense?
Right.
Here's my 5 sentences. Does that kind of make sense? And they can go, no, I don't understand. What's the bad guys thing? And you go, oh, I didn't make it clear. I got to say that. So yeah, I just recommend like test everything out and don't be afraid of hearing that bad, like, oh, that doesn't make sense, you know, because a lot of times as creatives, we don't want to hear the, like, I don't want someone to tell me what's wrong. Even though I know it's not perfect, I don't want to hear what's wrong with it. Because you think
defense
it's going to
mechanism builds up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the term. Yes, the defense mechanism. And it doesn't hurt that bad if you don't let it hurt that bad. That's the thing. You know, you gotta, if you allow yourself to be like, oh, okay, what can I learn from this? Be open-minded. Don't take it all personally. Go to your mom. Your mom will be the first one to tell you, I don't understand why the samurais are fighting these robots. I don't understand. Yeah. And if you can explain it to your mom who doesn't know any of this stuff, then you can easily explain it to a fan who understands the genre or the medium or something, you know?
Yeah. And if your mom's the one who just loves everything you do, even though it sucks, don't go to her.
Exactly. That's actually the number one advice. That should be above what right. I'm saying.
Don't go to the person who's going to just say, oh my God, it's amazing. But exactly. Yeah.
No, that's why I like to have friends that will be honest with me. That they'll say, no, what's this part that sucks right here? And I'm like, oh, well, geez, okay.
It's like, I'm not really sure. But Gods and Gears with Alterna has done pretty darn well. I know it was set to just be a 4-issue mini, and now I heard ongoing is in the mix. So
that is the word, brother. We did do fairly well for an indie book. We sold out of issue 1, which is a few thousand issues, which makes us pretty stoked because you know, we were going to put it out on our own, which was going to be a couple hundred in sales, and it was only going to be digital as well. It was just we didn't really want to deal with any publishers or companies, and we at the time we thought there was still more of a push for digital, so we were kind of like, hey, we'll just push on the digital side of things and make that happen. And I was doing that with Death Betty already, so we were just going to follow suit with that. But yeah, like I said earlier, that newsprint came, and you can once you hear the word, you smell it in the air, and you're like, I must be part of that. So we did all right with sales. We've done great with the fans. I've been so overwhelmed with the support for my first time writing, because I got zero problem with my inks. I'll put my inks up against anybody. My pencils. Yep. I'm a good penciler. I'm getting better. But my writing, that's the thing I've done the least. It's my weakest point that I'll admit. I even admit that my first issue is kind of rough compared to issues 2, 3, and 4. I feel like 2, 3, and 4, I found my voice for the characters. I found my pace for writing. And that first issue was really just, let's see what I can do. And it worked. And luckily I had Dean on board, because I think Dean's art and his character emotion and his character acting really sells stuff. So even if I felt like I fell flat on some of the exposition, Dean's got you covered. He's making you feel what the characters are feeling and going through and stuff like that. So the response was great. And because of that, Peter at Alterna decided, since he was going to be, sorry, this is a little inside baseball, but the distribution form for comics is sort of spread out with all the COVID stuff this year, all this nonsense. Things have changed and diversified, and so distribution is totally spreading out all over the place. So now that we're not locked down to Diamond, we have the opportunity to be ongoing, because a lot of times with the Diamond system, and again, I'm not going into dissing Diamond or anything, it's just the way the system was, they really rely on number ones, especially for indie books. It's so hard to sell an issue 5 of a limited series, let alone an issue 6, a 7, or an 8. It's hard to push those to the retailers. So it kind of just stops indie creators from doing ongoing series. We feel like, hey, we better just keep it to limited and then do a volume 2, number 1 through 4, and stuff like that, which I'm not against that either. That's the way I have friends that do their books that way. I'm not against it, but some titles, and Gods and Gears is one of those, we were like, man, if we had ongoing, this would just be an adventure series. Like we could go anywhere. We've set it up so we can go anywhere and do anything. But it was limited, so we had the 4 issues. So, and that's why we crammed so much into those 4 issues too, because we were like, we got to explain the gods and the gears. We got to explain it all. So we were like, okay, so we'll have like a prologue with each story that'll fill in some of the backstory, and then we'll have the main story. And I do like that we told this big story in 4 issues. Right. But going forward, we'll be able to just kind of expand on the individual stories. We won't have to cram so much in there, which I think will be better. But I don't know. People keep coming to me and saying, "Oh, I love how much story is in there." So I'm like, "Oh, do I have to always?" Maybe that's our thing. Maybe we just pack in tons of story. You know,
all you could eat, man.
That might just be how it is. And it's also one of those things I don't think I'll be able to help. The second series of Gods and Gears, which is called The Heart of Racing, I was like, oh, we're going to make this a simplified story. You know, we're going to have Eli's going to fall in love with racing, and Jimmy's going to fall in love with a girl while they're in this race. So we're going to have this more coming of age for Jimmy, and we're going to have these 2 things. And I was like, there'll be this small story, you know, that will focus on these things. And then Dean reminds me, he's like, yeah, but they are on another planet. I'm like, huh, okay. He's like, and there is this and that going on. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a big story, huh?
Yep. So, but when has falling in love with a girl ever been easy though, too?
Exactly. And I don't want to, you know, we realize we don't want to, if we're gonna do this sort of Romeo and Juliet thing, we don't want to do it simple. We want it big and bombastic, and we want to chase and explosions and magic and machines getting in the mix and stuff. So we were like, yep, I think it's going to be just like Volume 1. We're going to start, there's going to be this little story of the boys, but they're going to be living in this big, giant story that's happening all around them.
That's awesome. And so part of my goal of this show is that, I mean, if it's just one, but hopefully it's more than one, that are coming to this and haven't heard of Gods of Gears. They haven't heard, well, maybe they've heard of Ryan Winn, but not the writer Ryan Winn. So tell people a little bit about, you know, Eli and Shotgun, like, you know, a little bit about these 2 dudes and where they're at and the first volume.
Yeah. So the first volume, I've been sort of describing it as, like my little elevator pitch has been Goonies meets Indiana Jones. And that's, for me, I mean, that's just the kind of stuff I love, grew up on, want to tell those kinds of stories. But then again, I also grew up reading Jack Kirby comics and Mike Allred comics and stuff like that. So it's like, well, you can't just tell a boring earthbound story with normal people. I mean, that's where the Goonies and Indiana Jones gets boring. No, I'm just kidding. They don't get boring, but you know what I mean. When we're doing comics, you want to add this. Everything's got to be a little extra to bring that oomph off the page. So we just started peppering in almost tropes of things we liked. Not necessarily analogs of things, but the tropes that we liked. Like we like the idea of like there being gorillas and apes and things like that. And we like the magic and this, that. But I'm straying from your question. I'm gonna get back on track now. So let's talk about the boys. So it is an adventure series. Like I said, it's like Goonies, it's like Indiana Jones, and we have these 2 boys, Eli and Jimmy, also known as Shotgun, which is his sort of nickname or his team name for the stunt racing team that he was part of, before getting hurled back in time and meeting young Eli. And what's going on is young Eli is living in the footsteps of his grandpa. And his grandpa was an alchemist and explorer and has passed on, and Eli wants to carry on those adventures. And lucky for him, Jimmy falls right into his path while he's starting this adventure. So he's running away from home basically to go on this adventure. He was going to do it alone, but now he's got a partner in crime. And the 2 of them set off to find all this information and artifacts that are going to prove the existence of these ancient beings that came to Earth. And they're going to dabble in magic and machines and everything in between.
Beautiful.
And the series, so the original series is them trekking across the jungle, you know, like following the grandfather's notes, and they're going to find out the truth about all this stuff. But now that we get to be ongoing, they're going to be going through time and space and everything. And we're going to take them through the gradual things that you go through as a teenager. Like in this first one, Jimmy deals with the loss of his parents and being separated from family members. And the next one, we're going to deal with his first love. And then as he gets older, we're going to deal with him having to become a man. Like, what's the difference? What are the things you have to do to step up to be a man? And then hopefully I'd love to get to the point where we're seeing the boys get older and, you know, go onward with that. But for right now, I think we're going to keep them kind of young, keep them in the teenage years, and keep these stories relatively close to each other in time as well.
Dude, it is beautiful, and it fits so well in a newsprint with this story, which is great. And all of them are available on the Indiegogo as well. So if you haven't read them, it's a good time to get caught up. And you're getting to this piece where you're bringing a little bit more to add on to it, just right here with the Indiegogo before we get to the within the Gods and Gears world, right?
Yes. Sorry, you're saying Hammerella?
Yeah, Hammerella. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Hammerella is we're calling it like an expansion story. It expands the Gods and Gears universe. It brings in new characters, and we're taking the setting far, far out into space. This is going to be a deep in the cosmos story. We're far, far away from Earth. We're further back in time than the regular Gods and Gears series is happening. And we're going to get these brand new characters that I'm super excited. We've got Hammerella. We have a rogue naval flight squad that has turned into a stunt performance team, and they're called Blue Astra. And Hammerella is going to meet up with them. And in the classic sort of Marvel sense, they may be friends, they may be enemies. We'll see how they deal with each other at first, and what comes out of that. And so I'm super excited. They're a little bit inspired by Gatchaman, and they're a little bit inspired by the Silverhawks, but they're not exactly analogous of either one. They're just sort of inspired by, I would say.
Yeah.
Because Gods and Gears. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just say Gods and Gears is inspired by the sort of American cartoons and comics that we grew up on in the 80s. And what Hammerella is it brings in a little bit of the influence that I saw when I was a kid from like Heavy Metal magazine from Europe, and then animation from Japan that was coming over at the same time. So I was like, cool, this is another expression of what I loved from the 70s and 80s. And we get to do it in the same vein as Gods and Gears, but we get to reflect some different things, you know? And then eventually we'll bring all these characters together towards the end of the Gods and Gears series. Any of the characters we introduce in these one-shots or these annuals that we'll be doing, they're all going to find their way to Earth eventually. They're going to find their way into the path with the boys, and we're going to have this big, big closing story that we've already worked out the basics for. Now we just got to get there.
Awesome. And Hammerella will stand on its own too as well, right?
Yes, definitely. It's not every Gods and Gears. I actually have a few people like this. Gods and Gears wasn't necessarily for them, but they saw Hammerella and were like, this looks like it's more up my alley. Because some people, they were like, I don't really like watching a boy go on an adventure, a kid. I want to watch a cool chick or a strong dude or something. You know, some people have different tastes and stuff. And I hadn't really thought about that aspect. And so I actually have a handful of backers that they weren't necessarily into the adventure stuff of Gods and Gears, but they want this cosmic, like, giant mechs and monsters from Hammerella. And you don't have to read one to get the other. They can stand alone separate, but we are designing them so that if you read it together, they're going to interlock and sort of expand on each other in I think a pretty nice way.
Dude, that's awesome. And you're doing both the art, the writing, and the color. I mean, I guess all of it except for the letters pretty much, right?
I might be doing the letters too on this
Ooh.
one. I'm looking for a new letterer. Our letterer moved on. He had a baby, or he and his wife had a baby, and they're busy with having family and loving life and things like that. So we've allowed him to move on, and we've decided to. I'm either going to letter it myself or take on a new letterer, and I'm talking to a few people. Don't be afraid to reach out if you're a good letterer. Feel free to reach out. But I am doing the writing and all the art on this, and if we make our funding, which we're really close, and I think we're going to do it, not only do we complete this Hammerella book and get that out to you, but the funding also goes towards getting issues 5 through 8 started. So I'm going to be handling the art on this while Dean steps over and starts doing issues 5 through 8, so that we can kind of have that all being produced at the same time. Then we can launch issues 5 through 8 at Alterna. And then in a year or so, we'll have a different version of Hammerella that will come out as Gods and Gears Annual 1.
Oh, great.
So there is a plan for it. Go ahead.
Dude, that's great. And we were talking a little bit about your art, your inking and everything. And have you done a book that you've done all this much in one? I know you've done the pencils. I know you've done inks. I know Gods of Gears you wrote, but now we're Hammerella, where it's kind of all you could eat on Ryan.
It's yeah, it is. It is the first time. There were a couple short stories in Death Betty where I co-wrote the short story, did the art, the lettering, and the colors. But those were only like 4 pages. It wasn't really like a big story. And I was still relying on my writer friend. I didn't have faith in myself. Also with Death Betty, it was a co-creation. So yeah, I was definitely working with him, with my friend Adam on that. But yeah, this is my first, I guess solo all you can eat gig.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about it like that.
When you're writing though, are you scripting it out like you would if you were talking to Dean, or are you kind of leaving out some of the details because you know you're going to get to it?
I have learned that I like to think everything out. I don't necessarily write a full script for myself. It's similar. Here, I'll explain my Dean process and my process. I list out like all the points I want to make in the story, or things that like, oh, I want him to do this, her to do that, I want this, and just have a general list for the story. And then I look at that list. It's not necessarily numbered. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I just write the list. It's just a list of all the ideas I want to get out. Then I make a list of the issues. Like if Gods and Gears, I got 1 through 4, and I start taking those ideas and what do I want in issue 1? What do I want in 2, 3, and 4? And I take that list and then break it down by issue. This would be the same for Hammerella. It would be the same by chapter or story act. It'd be the similar process. Then I do one more list, and I take each issue and I write down all the page numbers, and I sort of assign a group of pages to each scene or idea that I have. And then I can start to pace the comic. Then I can start to be like, okay, so that fight scene, I've put 5, but it's going to take 6 pages. And then, this part where they're talking, I don't want that to be more than 3. And you kind of think it out in your head. Also, if you're new to it, look at books you love. Look at books you enjoy reading, and don't necessarily copy them, but you can look at them for a guide and be like, okay, so in this issue of Uncanny X-Men, Chris Claremont intros the new character on page 1, but then cuts to the X-Men at the mansion on page 2, and then doesn't come back to that character till here. And you can kind of see how they pace things, and you can kind of get a sense of like, oh, I liked how that story was paced like that, so I'm going to try something similar to that. And, don't be afraid to, because you're not copying, you're not stealing. You're doing the exact same thing these guys did. They looked at the things that they loved before they started creating, and how did those things work. And every time I give that suggestion to young writers, they feel like it's almost like I've given them permission. They didn't realize that they could look at somebody else's comic and see how they did it and draw from that. It's Chris Claremont. None of these guys, no one you're reading in the last 20 years invented any of the ideas they're using. They may have pushed them further and been super innovative and genius with it. Right. But they're all just building off somebody else and somebody else. So never be afraid to allow yourself to learn. Don't swipe, don't steal, but allow yourself to learn and copy what they do in practice to see how it played out. And then you learn. So yeah, I break, sorry, straight again.
No, it's good.
I get my lists going, and then I have the pages for the list, and then I'll start to sort of do a script, and I'll do thumbnails for the script as well. So the script is usually pretty loose. I don't do much dialogue other than sort of hinting at what they might say. And then I have the thumbnails, and I'll send that to Dean, and he'll do his thing. My thumbnails are just, it'll be like 2 heads in a box, and that'll just be, this is Eli and Jimmy. So it's basically just showing you like that I mapped out in my head what beats that I thought would work, and he's allowed to adjust or do whatever he wants. He's actually encouraged to do so because he's a master draftsman himself. So I don't want to step on that at all. But that's how we work, and then I get the pages back, and then I do the final dialogue after that. So I don't do a full script.
So you don't do that until you get the dialogue. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, and so working by yourself is that's quite a bit different then, because you're kind of maybe seeing that when you're plotting it all down on your script itself, not your script, but actual doing the art now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's still, I found myself, I still have to treat myself like this is writer Ryan, this is artist Ryan, this is colorist Ryan.
Does colorist Ryan like pencil Ryan? Does pencil Ryan like writer Ryan? Or do they like that asshole?
Colorist Ryan doesn't. Colorist Ryan is getting along better with penciler inker Ryan now than he used to.
Okay.
They used to struggle. There would be. It was just a thing of my brain not being there yet, where I just wasn't getting the lighting quite right, so that but I wouldn't notice it until I went in with coloring. Then I'd be like, you stupid guy, you put the blacks over here and the ink shadow there, and it shouldn't be because the light should be doing this. And I'd get so frustrated with myself that I would usually end up going back and fixing the inks again, instead of trying to make it happen in color. Inker Ryan actually loves penciler Ryan. Penciler Ryan sets up Inker Ryan with all the lines that Inker Ryan loves to ink, which is kind of how I developed my penciling. After inking so many people for so long, I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. And so now my pencils are set up so that Inker Ryan has fun doing it. So nice. They get along great. Yeah, they get along great. Penciler Ryan and writer Ryan are still struggling, just because writer Ryan sees everything clearer than penciler Ryan. Penciler Ryan isn't quite caught up yet.
Yeah,
I think in about 6 months, probably around the time I'm done with Hammerella, I'll be right where I want to be. Which won't be 6 months. I'll be done in a couple months with the book in a couple months, but still, that's usually how it is. I finish a project and then I'm like, now I'm ready to start that project I just finished.
But which one of those jobs are you liking the most, and which ones have you grown the most?
I think I'm liking coloring the most, because like 9 out of 10 times I know where I'm going, especially with the Hammerella stuff. Like I've had it envisioned in my head, so I'm not having that much trouble with it. Where with Gods and Gears, there was a lot of, hey, I've never colored a scene like this before. Mm-hmm. How do I color this? And that stuff slows you down. You know, like I've colored human figures a bazillion times. Then we got to a dragon, and I was like, you know what? I've never colored a dragon. And I didn't think about when I was writing the dragon for Deemed to Draw that I've never colored a dragon, that I didn't know how I was going to do it, if I was going to add texture or leave it how it was, or what I was going to do. So I think coloring is the most fun, but the thing I've grown the most in is writing, for sure. Yeah. And I am having a lot of fun with that, more fun than I expected. I thought it was going to be more homeworky feeling. You know, all the typing and reading, it just, that aspect just sounds like homework, you know? Right. But it's a lot more fun and a lot more imaginative than I expected. So you spend and you're right. So, you spend mm-hmm. more time thinking and daydreaming about it than you do physically typing. Mm-hmm. And Gods and Gears, I'm not a dreamer. I'm not a big dreamer. I don't remember my dreams, things like that. I may dream. I just don't remember. I just wake up and I'm like, I don't know if I dreamt. But with Gods and Gears, I would fall asleep thinking about it. And the story in the world would play through in my head as I drifted off. And then when I'd wake up the next morning, it'd be like, oh, cool. I figured out all this stuff last night. and then I'd hit the iPad or whatever I was working on, hit the keyboard and get to typing. And I found the same with Hammerella, that like late at night before I go to bed, I'll just start like soaking my head with the story, sort of. And it's not a process of trying to figure out the problems in the story. It's a process of just kind of like putting myself in their world and watching them, almost like I'm there as an observer. So with like Gods and Gears, there's a scene where Eli's dad teaches Jimmy about meditation so that he can sleep at night, because he's lost in his thoughts, which that happens to a lot of us. You lay down in bed, it goes to be quiet. All of a sudden that inner voice starts speaking up and you're like, I can't sleep because this guy's telling me all these things that are making me sad or mad or whatever. So he learns how to do that. And I specifically remember waking up one night. I don't think I'd fully fallen asleep, but I was on that verge. And I was there with them. I was sitting at the fire with them, and I could hear it crackling, and I could hear George, the gorilla dad, explaining to Jimmy, like, breathe in, breathe out, let these thoughts flow, this or that. And I remember being there, feeling the heat of the fire and everything. And yeah, I remember like waking up, and I was like, okay, that's going to be a scene in the book. That's definitely going to be a scene in the book. I hadn't thought of it or anything. So that's been pretty fun. I didn't know writing would be so consuming of your imagination.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. And I'm liking it and I'm embracing it. But I didn't expect that. So it's been fun and sort of freeing too, because inking and everything else, so technical, everything. But this is just like, oh man, let your mind wander, bro.
Just do it. So, but knowing that now, how would that have changed your career if you would have known that earlier?
So you got me here, because this is one of those voices that keeps me up at night. Because this is the stuff I always wanted to do. So there's a part of me that's like, dude, at 20 years old, you should have just been writing and drawing your own stuff right away. You'd be better off for it and this or that. But then you have to weigh the realities and the positiveness of the life you've taken, despite all the negative things that have happened, despite the people we've lost or friends, any of that stuff. And you gotta sort of weigh your current existence against what you think maybe your regrets or whatever. And if I had gone down that path, there's no guarantee that you'd be in my life. There's no guarantee that people like David Barron would be in my life. There's no guarantee that, like, I mean, seriously, one of the things that was so remarkable about my time with Valiant was when I left Top Cow, my communication with Top Cow fans dissipated to just once or twice a year. I would see them. We never lost the love of each other, but our contact stopped. Whereas when I left Valiant, all the people I met and Valiant fans, readers, all that stuff, they're still in my life. They're indie comics fans, which that's sort of the difference I found. And when I started with Alterna, it was like, hey, there's all these people in the stream that I know from my Valiant days. And it was like, oh, it's because a lot of Valiant readers, they found Valiant because they're sick of the big two. They're sick of all that nonsense. And Valiant's like this super cool, almost that in quality, if not equal to or exceeding at times, right, I should say, but while still maintaining that indie vibe. And so I feel like I chose correctly. And I'm probably going to tell myself that, even if it's just a mental trick to make myself feel good. But I feel like I'm happy with the friends I made and the place I'm at right now, where yes, I could be better financially. Yes, I could have chosen better for my future and gotten a job that's, I'm investing in for my retirement, things like that. But at the same time, I've formed friendships and bonds with people that I don't know if that would have happened. And I don't know if all the experiences I got would have happened if I didn't take that path. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with. I don't know if it's with the middle-age crisis thing or something, but I'm sort of going through that stuff in my head where it's like, did I make the right decisions? Should I have done this before? And that goes further than comics, it goes on to every aspect of our lives and stuff like that. But
Absolutely.
But I think the balances we use and the processes we use to make this stuff all work, I think it kind of works across the board as well. So hopefully, if I can make sense of my comic career, my choices that I've made there, I can make some bigger sense of outside choices that I've made as well. I don't know. I'm getting esoteric here.
Oh no, it's all good, and I think that's important to know, and that's, you know what I mean. It is the shoulda, woulda, couldas maybe, but I think it is good to see the good thing and the, you know, positive people that we talked about having in life is very important, and you know, and things happen for a reason, and hopefully they're learning situations, and I'm sure that's probably the absolute piece of that's happened. So, but yeah, learning from it. And then continuing to learn from the past, learn from the things. You've inked a lot of pencilers. What penciler do you think you've pulled from with doing your pencil work? I know it's probably a hodgepodge of a couple people, but
it definitely is. What's funny is the person you would least expect it to be, if you're looking style to style, is Trevor Hairsign. My work does not look like his at all. My line work does not look like his. My drawings don't look like his. But I am constantly thinking and looking at his work, because Trevor, especially once he was at Valiant, and especially on the first Divinity series, it was a matter of the page is open and readable, very easy to read the action, the pacing, whatever's going on. And you want to say there's not much detail because there's a lot of open space, but then in the spaces that there is an object or a character, that's packed with detail. So he has this great way of, you know, leaving this long part of the panel open, like right here for Balloon, but then where he's drawn Ryan, it's really detailed and great, and it draws you into where all that is. And that's something I'm trying to do with Hammerella, is have a bunch of like open space or panels, but not have it feel empty. Like then have it, like, I think even the image you've got behind us here with young Hammerella running from the Ember Wolves, there's a big open space for the background, but where the trees are, where she is, the foreground, all of that is packed with detail. And that's sort of what I'm trying to do. So it is funny that, yeah, Trevor's probably my number one influence as of late. But I'm also I'm still looking at Art Adams and Walt Simonson and those guys and stuff like that. But as far as pencilers that I worked over, that's what I learned the most from Trevor, where he renders realistically. Everything he does is based on reality. But it was that aspect of like his graphic design choices in his page work that really stuck with me and have been a major influence. Other than that, I would say it was back in my Top Cow days. Michael Broussard, Mark Silvestri, those guys had the most influence that still sort of carries through. Again, my style's different, but if you look at the way I pencil like a figure, or especially like a masculine, angular man, super powered body, like it's very much in the vein of like Mark Silvestri and those guys.
Speaking of image, you made a Spawn cover recently too, so congratulations on that. So yeah,
hey, that was cool and unexpected. I've had my troubles with the Spawn company. They've misspelled my name before in multiple trades for years. We've had issues with other things, but that was that was very nice, and it was a great surprise. I had no idea it was coming out. Someone tagged me in a picture. I was just like, what?
Wait, that's me? Yeah. That's great. But I'm sorry, that threw me off, and get you back on where it is. But I mean, we're coming back to Hammerella. And here, I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is something that you made. I think it's beautiful. For those that haven't seen it, many of your viewers probably have. My viewers may have not, but let's go ahead and play this. It's beautiful work here. I dig that little bit, man. That's great.
Awesome. I do want to give credit where credit is due. The main part of that animation where she jumps with the hammer and then swings, that was all done by Pedro Ang, or Pedro Caicedo over on Twitter. He's Pedro Ang here on YouTube. He is a good friend, indie comic maker. He has a book called Tropical Magics coming out soon. I just want to give that a promo because he has been an awesome friend and an awesome contributor to so many indie books. And he did that for us. I didn't hire him either. He did that for us.
Oh, that's sweet.
Out of the goodness of his heart. I ended up paying him for it because you should pay people for their work. But he was doing that just out of the goodness of his heart and the excitement of the project. And that just, that melted me. I couldn't believe it. So I'm trying to use it as much as possible. And thank you for sharing it.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was beautiful. Thought it was one of the things to do. And, you know, want to push off and encourage those because this is one reason why we're here is the Kickstarter of Hammerella. Right. You are, I feel like I don't know. I guess I just appreciate you so much, Ryan. I'm like, come on, let's make it. We can do it. You know I've backed it and I hope others can continue to back it. And we're looking 84%. So with 16 days more, 253 backers. Yeah.
I think we got it. And I love that you feel that way. That's how, that's what I'm getting from a lot of people. And that's what I'm learning too about it's something I've learned in the last couple of years, just investing either in Kickstarter or Indiegogo with these projects is you are investing, you are part of the team. So those of you that are coming on, you are part of this. Like, this is a thing we are all making happen, you know? And so you should feel like it's you, brother. We are at 84%, and we are going to make this happen. And this is going to be an awesome collector's item because we're going to make this, and then we are not going to be reproducing this book for a long time. We're going to make the batch, and then that's going to be it for this. So this is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The only way you're going to get this story with the added features in this way, on this kind of paper, perfect bound.
Love it. And I do love the Gods and Gears stand. I mean, but yeah, there's so much awesome things you can get here. The one-of-a-kind, custom drawn, the, what they call it, Storefolio is there for you.
I like that.
It's perfect. You take it with you every time you go to the store, right? And it's just your little box to make sure your comics stay in good condition to and from the store, all the way to the house, all the way to the short box, long box. So
I can't wait to tell that to Samedi. I don't think he's heard that term before. I think he's gonna love that too. Storefolio. I love it.
I'm not sure if I deserve credit for that though. So I think I've heard it somewhere else too. So
well, I'm gonna credit you for it. So
but yeah, it's such good stuff here. The ink, the art, all the way around, the bonus cards that are coming. It's one of those things, and I think this is one of the original Hammerella arts right here, one of the prints. So,
yeah, that's right. That's our exclusive print that's going to come out. It's been released. I need to send out a tweet. That was our 10,000 goal print release. We reached 10,000 just yesterday. Yeah, just yesterday. So that has been released. All physical backers get that sweet Hammerella print. That's from the first image I ever drew of her. The first animated bit that I ever did was off that drawing. That's the OG. That's where she came into being.
And I really want everybody to make sure that baby Hammerella happens. It's something that I personally want. So everybody get behind it, make it happen. And then those that haven't seen or haven't read Gods and Gears, that you do have a good bundle here where you can get the first 4 issues, get it all in together. So
all signed.
Dude, mine's not signed. What the hell? So sad. Sad.
Anything you get from this will be signed. We were gonna, this was the year I was gonna try to make it up to Seattle and all kinds of stuff.
COVID, man. COVID happened.
Yeah.
So, yep. It made me busier at work to not do my projects, but I'm happy that you're getting this going and that the project is coming what it is. And, and so, but why Indiegogo? Why did you choose Indiegogo over Kickstarter or potentially like a one-shot with Alterna?
Well, with everything that was happening this year, we were looking at a way to we were looking for a project to launch anyways, mostly in a sense to not only raise money to get more Gods and Gears going, but we're trying to find ways to expand our readership. And it took me a long time to realize that was a great source, or that crowdfunding was a great source for that. Because years ago, people would come to me and they're like, hey, do you want to do this project? I'm going to do a Kickstarter. And I'd be like, yeah, but I don't want to like beg people online for money. And that's how I saw it. And not that I accused other people of that, because I would often back projects. I always have, but it was a personal thing. I was just like, no, I feel weird. I never ask people for favors. I usually wallow in pain before I ask for help, stupid like that. So I was looking around and reading up on it, and the last couple of years I've seen that like, oh, this is a great way. This is a shop. It's like a digital convention almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a convention with an investment kind of idea to it, and it's like this little, I don't know, it's this different way of reaching new readers and getting your product out there. And as I started to see that, I was like, oh, this could actually be a lot of fun to do, because I like where I always complain about conventions, like the price they charge us for tables, the setups are poor, this, that. The awesome part of convention is setting up your product, getting to meet new people, all the conversations you have, and all of that happens. Boom, we can keep doing that online with all this, outside nonsense keeping us all separated. So we thought that this would be a good time to do that, be a good time to set up, get the investors, get the readers, expand and continue Gods and Gears. And when we started comparing platforms, it really was just down to the fact of I'm a dummy, and the Indiegogo page was set up that a dummy could manage it. Like I could do it. Kickstarter page isn't that hard, but this was just so like dumb guy friendly to me that I was just like, they're speaking my language. Yeah, everything, like anything they read, I didn't have to like go to my wife and be like, what's this mean? Stuff like that. So it was all stuff that dumb Ryan could handle on his own. But then also I liked the way their perks were set up. I liked the way the add-ons were set up for the shopping experience for the reader and the backer. And I also like the way you can go into demand afterwards for the extended amount of time that you want to do. And then you can almost continue your campaign page as a shop, even after your campaign, only if your campaign's met, obviously. Right. So, we got to get back to people, but yeah, it was just sort of the logistics of how they set up their page was the number one thing for me. So it was my experience setting up and reading through the page, and then what I felt was the reader's experience shopping that kind of led me to Indiegogo.
Dude, that's great, and I think it is right, and that's what I've heard from a number, is that it is it's a new storefront. It's a new way of doing that, and it's a way to get in front of viewers, and it gets you actually closer to your readers than other sources. Your fans get a lot more connection with you, and I think that's cool. So
yeah, and then I used to like the trading cards when I was young, but I don't necessarily collect trading cards myself. So at first it was like, oh, what kind of bonuses can I give to entice backers to help us push this so that we can get more back? Like, how do I get people to tell your friend about this? And I always just go to the readers, go to my friends, and just say, what do you guys think? And so many of them were like, dude, you got to do trading cards. It's like, we all love your characters and we want to know their power stats. We want to this or that. Go old school, like those, Art Adams and Jim Lee trading cards from the 90s that were just cool, fun images. Nice. And so many of the other indie creators have been doing cards and getting people. So people are already collecting trading cards. So they're buying sleeves. They're already having this thing they want filled. So they're like, hey, I got a bunch of, be it, your Cyber Frogs or whatever you got, like the big campaigns that are out there with trading cards and stuff. And they've kind of set everyone up that like, hey, the trading cards are back. Everyone's got a binder and their sleeves now. And pretty much every reader of Gods and Gears I talked to was like, please get trading cards. Please get trading cards. So I was like, all right, we're going to do it. And it's going to be fun. I'm going to do exclusive art that's going to be just for this. I'm not going to pull art from the comic and make that the card. We're going to make, this is where you get this art. It's on this card. And then the back, I'm coming up with the power stats, which is fun and way more of a headache than I thought it was going to be, because you have cosmic level beings, and then you've got like Eli and Jimmy, who they kind of dabble with magic. They mostly rely on luck to survive, you know. So it's like I'm trying to figure out like what are the 5 stats or something that can kind of run across the board of all characters, you know. So there may just be a cosmic power, and Jimmy and Eli are just going to be zeros on the cosmic power, you know.
They make you love them. They make you love them. So
yeah, and that, you know, that's part of the fun of that part of Gods and Gears. But then that's the fun of the Hammerella side of it, is where we're going now. This is the book where everyone can smash and explode things. This is the book where everyone can just bring the pain to each other, and you know, it's going to be a lot of fun exploring a big bombastic action story, as opposed to Gods and Gears, which was action packed, but we really were dealing with the nuance of the family and the lineage and things like that. Hammerella is going to have some of that, and it's going to tug at your heart just like Gods and Gears did, but it's going to have a lot more exploding robots.
Oh man! And when would we expect that to arrive at the doorstep?
We put March as our deliverable date. That way, it just gives me time to wrap it up. I don't even know how to break down how far I am through it, but I got quite a few pages done. I've got the entire thing laid out, partially penciled, and I'm moving fairly quickly through the pencils and inks. So if we get it out sooner, we would, you know, if we can do February, we will. But we're putting March just to be safe and just to make sure that we can get all the stuff together. Because again, this is my first campaign. I've done similar stuff, but this is my first time. So I just wanted to give myself all the time to make sure that I'm fulfilling this properly and getting everybody everything that I said they'd get.
Dude, I think it's great. A beautiful Gods and Gear is a beautiful world. I'm liking the characters a lot, the art, the fun, it's action, right? It's adventure. It's things that you would want in a comic book, and especially when you get to smell it, yeah, smell it in newsprint. It's a good thing, and so I mean, but loving Alterna, and I think you know, I like the Alterna vibe that you guys all got together. It's a good little. I was gonna say fraternity, but I don't think that's it, because it's not so exclusive, but more inclusive. So I appreciate that. So working with those guys. Tell us about working with Alterna just for a little bit. I know you only got a little bit more time with me.
Yeah, no, we're good for right now. If, I'll let you know. It's working with Alterna has been great. It was a great place for me to go after working with Dinesh. You know, I've dealt with a bunch of people I liked and didn't like in the industry for years, and then Dinesh came into our lives, and we're like, hey, this guy's super cool. He's all about the reader. He's all about like your experience, but he's also got that combo of like, well, no, I want my company to grow and be good so that I can make your experience better, which is kind of, you got to have both mindsets going to make that work. You know, you've got to push the company, and you've got to push the fans. It can't be one or the other. Right. And he was sort of that rarity, that long lost comic salesman vibe. And then, you know, we all know that where Dinesh is now, rocking and rolling, doing his thing, keeping on. And Peter fell into that same mindset for me. It was all about the reader, the treatment of the reader, the treatment of his creators. He wanted to be the thing that people said they wanted, you know, which was like, I want a good publisher that I can trust, that's honest to me. And he was like, I want to be that. And he's super genuine, like you so very graciously and probably wrongly said about me earlier. He is as nice offline as he is online. The guy you get online is the guy you get offline. So it's thoughtful and kind as he appears online. I would say he may even be more thoughtful and kind offline. Yeah. He's a little tough guy. He's got a little attitude online, on edge. You know, he's got a little edge, this or that. We're even behind the scenes. So, you know, he doesn't have that edge anymore. He's just this nice guy that's doing whatever he can for his company, for the readers. And he's cultivated just an amazing like energy around his brand. All the creators that he's brought on, I've become friends with. There's only been a few people that I even butt heads with or didn't get along with, and they've either left or they're not part of it anymore. And part of what Peter looks at is not only your book, but he's like, I want to bring in a creator that's going to be cool with my other creators. It's going to automatically, it should automatically be known that if I've brought this person in, you can trust him, you can like him. And that's sort of what he does.
Except for Spencer, though.
Well, yeah, Spencer's this weird anomaly that like he forced his way in, and he's a big dude, so he's threatening, and you're like, oh, fine, I'll publish your book. Yeah, Spencer's a menace to society. Yeah, all those things.
Kidding, people. We love Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer's the best. Writer of Voidwalker and Can't Kill Cade, #1 that just came out.
And City of Rot, right?
And City of Rot with Jeff Elkins. And I should say my friend Kevin Castanero is the artist on Can't Kill Cade. Basically, anyone Spencer hangs out with has become my best friend or my favorite person. I'm trying to steal all of his friends. And
but you introduced me to Spencer, so it works out.
Awesome. Good job. Good job, me. Yeah, so everyone, and it's that thing where he brought in a new creator named David Chiza, who has a book called Rad Rose coming out. And in our private DMs for our creators, I immediately started making jokes, and I was like, oh, I hope David, and I was like, you know what? No, he's an alternate creator that Peter brought in. He's going to be cool. And he fired back with jokes, and it was like we were old friends already. And I was like, yes, this is how it should be. So yeah, working with Peter, it's been exciting. There's been a little thrill, there's little drama every once in a while when you're in indie comics, and we battle through all of that stuff, and we stick together and just keep making books and keep being positive. That's like the Alterna vibe. It's the never surrender, never give up, never say die, and do what you can for the reader and your friends. And
you really do love Goonies.
Yeah,
you found a way to quote Goonies, so I appreciate it. Never say die and keep it up. Right.
That's right.
Me too. But
no, go ahead. Sorry, I was going to yell slop like Rocky Road.
And then Pete, yeah, it's like Rocky Road. Baby Ruth, right? Just get you Fratelli's pizza and we'll be good. But yeah, I enjoy it. Alterna's been great. Peter's been awesome. From what I've read with him, what I've talked with him, what I've seen with Alterna on the videos, everything. So I'm glad that you found a good home there.
Thank you.
And so I hope that we see more coming along the way.
You will.
Yeah.
You will.
Good.
Yeah. Alterna's never been busier. That's the craziest thing out of this whole year with all the shutdowns and all this stuff. He has never been busier, and we have sold more books than ever before. With Gods and Gears especially, we were on schedule to maybe sell out of issue 1 by fall and issue 2 by this next spring coming up. And we sold out of issue 1 like before summer, when we've been collecting issue 1s from random stores that didn't have them to stock up Peter's shop, or from random shops that had extras. And so we're going to second print already on issue 1, and we're almost out of issue 2. We just found a batch of issue 2, so we don't have to go back to print quite yet. Yeah, so I don't know, there's all that.
Definitely check it out. I know there's a lot going on. There was one little thing I was working on and it didn't quite come out that I was going to show you. I'll send it to you later. But I know like you're going to do something here pretty soon that you guys Friday the 13th kind of thing.
That's right. At 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern, over on the Death Curse channel here on YouTube. Going to be joined by Spencer. I'm going to be hosted by Spencer Desmond,
yes.
Jeff Elkins. I think Kelsey Shannon is showing up. I'm not sure who else, but myself, and we're going to be doing a live draw stream, Drawn to Death. We're going to be drawing Jason from Friday the 13th.
Ooh, heck yeah. I dig it. Everybody's just going to be on some cameras just doing it?
Yep, that's it.
Dude, that's cool, man. I appreciate that. So
yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So 45 minutes from now, hop on over, give Death Curse a sub, and you'll also find me over there sometimes on Tuesday nights. We'll do a live stream where we just talk nonsense. We get rude and crude and down and dirty, and so be warned, people. It's not your all ages Ryan over on the Death Curse channel.
I try to keep it, a little PC from time to time, but I've learned to move out of that a little bit lately. So you're all good.
Well, my own channel's definitely PG-13. We don't swear. We keep it light. We keep it fun. But yeah, we get loose and wicked over on Death Curse, and we have a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I know I put in the link down below on all your chats, whether you're on Periscope or Facebook or YouTube, that you guys are pulling it up, and pull up some Indiegogo and pull up a little Hammerella. I think you guys are going to be quite impressed. Back up a good person, their job, their thing. So it's one of the things I'm hoping for, man. I hope we get some people that introduce this and see it. And 84%. I'm going to look every morning and see if it keeps going up. So I hope I'm not disappointed.
I don't think you will be. I think we're getting there. Each day I wake up, we got a few more backers, and we're creeping and crawling. And each day I got a few more people that are excited to share it. So we're just gonna keep riding that wave. I'm gonna keep getting out there and promoting. I'm gonna be having people on my channel. I had my first guest last night. You're definitely someone I'd like to have on at some point. It was a little rough, but I'm gonna get it figured out. I'm learning StreamYard and get the hang of that. So yeah. We're gonna be having a lot more fun, and we're gonna be seeing a lot more of my friends on my channel.
Dude, that is pretty cool. Ryan Winn and his amazing friends. It's almost like Saturday morning cartoons with a little bit more F-bombs. So
that's right. There you go.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Anything left to, get anybody else, let anybody else know anything about you, where to follow you at Ryan Winn?
I'm at Ryan Winn on Twitter. You can find everything about me at ryanwinn.com. That'll take you to my YouTube, Hammerella, Indiegogo, Twitter. It'll take you all the different directions that you'd want to go with me. And I do want to say, back Wirehead by Robert Geronimo.
That's right. That was
as
on
well as Hammerella.
Ryan's last YouTube that he was just on, that I jumped on too, jumped on that before I went to bed, saw that. Really cool. So check out that YouTube channel if you're interested in more
awesome
Wirehead.
And then back Hammerella, of course. Come on.
Hammerella. Get on it. So man, appreciate you jumping on, and we will definitely be doing this again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. Again, it was great to be with you. We haven't talked. It's been too long since we talked, and it's just really nice. Like I said, it's like coming home, being here, man. Thanks a lot.
Oh, you are always home here. All right, everybody. I appreciate you guys jumping on. Subscribe here, subscribe at Ryan's channels, and jump over to Indiegogo and check that stuff out. So we appreciate everybody for jumping on.
Thanks, chat.